New developments 11 years after the disappearance and death of a Mid-South mother of four. Her former husband is now facing a murder charge. The death of Karen Swift rocked the Dyer County community when it happened, and it left questions for years.
Karen Johnson Swift was born on January 25, 1967, in Dyersburg, Tennessee. Known as a caring, loving, and dedicated mother, Karen was a staple of her small community. Dyersburg is a small town in northwest Tennessee, a place where everyone knows each other, and life typically follows a quiet, slow pace. Karen's presence in the town was well known. She was often seen at community events, school functions, and local church services. She was regarded as a kind and compassionate individual who had a deep love for her four children. Karen married David Swift, and together they had four children, all of whom were central to Karen's life. As a mother, she was described as being highly involved in her children's activities, always ensuring they had the best opportunities and experiences possible. From school events to sports practices, Karen was there, supporting her kids with enthusiasm and love. David Swift worked as a manager in a local plant, and while the family appeared to be stable from the outside, cracks had begun to form in their marriage. After years of marriage, Karen and David's relationship had grown increasingly strained. The reasons behind this tension were multifaceted, involving financial stress, disagreements over parenting, and likely emotional distance that had developed over the years. By 2011, the situation had deteriorated to the point where Karen felt that divorce was the only viable solution. On October 10, 2011, Karen filed for divorce from David, citing irreconcilable differences. This was a significant step for her, reflecting her desire to start a new chapter in her life, one where she could find peace and happiness away from the marital discord. Despite the divorce proceedings, Karen and David continued to live together in their home on Willie Johnson Road in Dyersburg, likely for the sake of their children. This arrangement, however, only added to the tension in the household. The night of October 29, 2011, was like any other for many residents of Dyersburg. That evening, Karen attended a Halloween party at the Farms Golf Club, a popular local venue. Karen was seen at the party, socializing with friends and acquaintances, dressed in a costume that reflected her fun and outgoing personality. Those who saw Karen that night reported that she seemed to be in good spirits, enjoying the festivities and the company of friends. However, there were also some who noticed that Karen appeared somewhat distracted, possibly due to the ongoing stress of her pending divorce. Despite this, she interacted warmly with others, and nothing seemed particularly amiss. Karen left the party around midnight. Her departure was noted by a few people, though nothing about it seemed unusual at the time. She drove to pick up one of her children who had been at a sleepover. This was the last known activity Karen undertook that night. The following morning, October 30th, 2011, Karen's white 2004 Nissan Murano was discovered abandoned on Millsfield Highway near the intersection of Harness Road, only a few miles from her home. The car was parked on the side of the road with a flat tire on the front passenger side. Inside the vehicle, Karen's personal belongings were left behind, including her purse, cell phone, and the Halloween costume she had worn the previous night. The car was found in a location that Karen would have likely been familiar with, as it was on a route she might take when traveling between home and other common destinations. The discovery of the car set off alarm bells among those who knew Karen. It was completely out of character for her to leave her car in such a manner, especially with her personal items inside. Moreover, Karen's family and friends were unable to reach her, heightening their concerns. Her children, who expected to see her the following morning, were confused and worried. David Swift, Karen's estranged husband, was also contacted, but claimed he had no idea where she was. As hours turned into days, a massive search effort was launched to find Karen. The local police, joined by the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, TBI, coordinated a search that involved hundreds of volunteers, law enforcement officers, and specialized search teams. The search spanned miles of rural land, including fields, woods, and the banks of the nearby Mississippi River. Helicopters, search dogs, and ATVs were deployed, but despite the extensive effort, there was no trace of Karen. Local media outlets picked up the story, and soon it was being reported statewide. The community of Dyersburg was gripped by fear and uncertainty. Candlelight vigils were held, and prayer groups gathered, hoping for Karen's safe return. However, as days turned into weeks, hope began to wane, and the grim reality that something terrible had likely happened to Karen set in. Throughout this period, law enforcement officials were tight-lipped about the details of the investigation. This led to widespread speculation and rumors within the community. Some believed that Karen had simply run away, overwhelmed by the stress of her divorce. Others feared she had been abducted or met with foul play. The uncertainty and lack of information only deepened the community's anxiety. On December 10, 2011, nearly 6 weeks after Karen's disappearance, a discovery was made that would confirm the community's worst fears. Karen Swift's body was found in a remote area near Bledsoe Cemetery, located just off Highway 78, less than 3 miles from where her car had been found. The body was discovered by a passerby who noticed something unusual in the overgrown area near the cemetery and decided to investigate. Karen's body was found partially covered with brush and debris, suggesting that whoever had left her there had attempted to conceal her remains. Due to the length of time her body had been exposed to the elements, it was in an advanced state of decomposition. This made it difficult for investigators to immediately determine the cause of death or gather forensic evidence. The discovery of her body sent shockwaves through Dyersburg. The realization that a murder had occurred in their tight-knit community was deeply unsettling. An autopsy was conducted by the Shelby County Medical Examiner's Office in Memphis, Tennessee. The autopsy revealed that Karen Swift had died from blunt force trauma to the head, confirming that she had been murdered. The medical examiner's report also indicated that Karen had suffered multiple injuries before her death, which pointed to a violent struggle. However, due to the state of decomposition, the exact details of her injuries and the possible weapon used were difficult to determine with precision. The autopsy report also noted that Karen's body had been exposed to the elements for an extended period, which had likely compromised some of the forensic evidence. Despite this, investigators were able to gather some clues that could potentially point to the identity of her killer. From the outset, David Swift, Karen's estranged husband, was a person of interest. Their troubled marriage, the recent filing for divorce, and the fact that they were still living together made David a prime suspect. During the investigation, David provided statements to law enforcement, but inconsistencies in his accounts, coupled with the strained relationship, heightened suspicions. The investigation into Karen's murder was complex and prolonged. For several years, the case appeared to be growing cold, with no significant leads or arrests. However, behind the scenes, law enforcement continued to work on the case, gathering evidence and building a case. In January 2018, more than 6 years after Karen's death, David Swift was arrested in Alabama and charged with first-degree murder. The arrest marked a significant development in the case, although the exact nature of the evidence leading to the arrest was not fully disclosed. It is believed that the prosecution relied heavily on circumstantial evidence, including the inconsistencies in David's statements and the dynamics of their relationship. After his arrest, David Swift was extradited to Tennessee to face charges. His legal team quickly moved to challenge the evidence and sought to have the charges dismissed, arguing that the case against him was built on circumstantial evidence and speculation. Despite these efforts, the charges remained in place. In November 2018, David Swift was released on bond, awaiting trial. The case has faced numerous delays, with legal motions and the complexities of the evidence contributing to the slow progress. As of now, the case is still ongoing, and a trial date has yet to be set.